I'm CeCe. Welcome to Seedstines, where we share the fruits of our labor with you. Here, we are a community of dreamers supporting each other in our individual pursuits instead of waiting on others to validate our vision. I'll be sharing stories, tips, and motivation to help you drive towards your destiny without wasting time or money. If you find value in this content, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so we can reach other like-minded people to join us on this journey. Today, I'll be sharing the story of how my husband and I were introduced online and eloped 6 months later. I hope it inspires you to follow your heart, stop trying to keep up with the Joneses, and trust the process. Cue the intro. The first question, how did we meet? Now, before I talk about us actually meeting, I want to talk about a couple of really interesting facts that we found out once we started getting to know each other's history and talking about our lives. My husband and I are both from Los Angeles, but he's about 8 years older than me. And so we weren't really running in the same circles. We weren't really interested in doing the same things at the same time. But turns out that there was a summer where I was going to the California Science Center for camp. I was very young, still in elementary school, but he was actually working at that science center that same year. Later, we found out that my first job was in a mall, and at the same time, he was working in the movie theater next door. Now, for people who live in smaller towns, that might be really common, but growing up in LA, that's extremely fortuitous, to say the least. God kept us close. So, when did we actually come in contact with each other? It was March of 2017. My high school best friend needed a ride, and the guy that she was dating was out of town. So he contacted a high school friend of his. That would be Jabari. He tells my friend that this is his most reliable friend. Get in the car. You don't have to worry about anything. He's completely safe. It's LA. They end up sitting in the car together for at least 2 hours. And afterwards, she calls me and tells me, you have to meet this guy. You guys would have great conversations. And I like to say we've been in one long conversation since. I tell her, sure, tell him to slide in my DMs. She gives him my Instagram and he slides in my DMs. We end up in a conversation about who we are, who we've been, things that have happened in our life that changed us, and the ways that we decided to change ourselves. We were talking all the time. We were falling asleep on the phone. It actually got to the point where I realized I need to integrate this person into my regular routine because he was interrupting, well, not him, but our conversations were interrupting my normal routine, like brushing my teeth or taking my shower to get ready for bed. So I realized I needed to integrate him into that routine. And I think that's probably when I started thinking I wanted to integrate him into my life. I had plans to go to Los Angeles at the end of May, but I had a very busy schedule. And originally, I told him, yeah, I'm coming to LA, but I'm not going to have time to see you. By April, I could tell that he liked me. And I even told my friend, I feel kind of bad. I feel like he likes me more than I like him, which probably was just me fronting because the only reason I was even checking for him liking me, or the only reason I knew that he liked me, was because we were on the phone talking, texting, FaceTiming all day, every day, literally falling asleep on the phone. Good morning text, had the FaceTime on, blacked out at my desk at work, the whole nine. He's got me in his headphones while he's at his brother's house. I don't remember the context. He kind of randomly tells me, I don't know why, but I care about what you think. And I want you to know that I am removing certain people from my life in order to make room for where I want you to be. We were just really connecting. By May, I'm getting ready to come to LA, and my perspective has shifted. At this point, I'm telling him, yeah, you're picking me up from the airport. There's no way I can come to LA and not meet you. Keep in mind, at this point, I've been living in New York. He's been living in Los Angeles for this whole 3 months that we're talking every day. He picks my son and I up from the airport. At the time, my son it was going to be his 5th birthday, I believe. And so we get in the car and I ask him, he's supposed to be taking us to my grandmother's house. So I ask him, do you know where you're going? He asks me,
Do you know where you're going? You're in my car now.
um, definitely could have gotten murdered. So glad. Spoiler alert, I didn't. We get to my grandmother's house. He meets my grandma. It's a great time. I knew they would love each other. They're pretty much the same person. So we spend as much time as we can together that weekend because I really did have a busy week. And I don't know if I was there for a week or a weekend, but the time that I was there, it was all booked. But we snuck in some opportunities to see each other and had a great time. Well, a couple weeks later, maybe even just a week later, we were going camping in New York. And so he came out to New York and it was a great camping trip. It was nice leisure time. He met some of my friends. July comes around, I went to LA for my grandmother's birthday. So he met my mom, he met my uncle, definitely family time, absolutely introducing him as my boyfriend. And my job was ending in August. And so we're talking about, oh, what's our plan going to be? How are we going to see each other in August? At the time, he was working in behavioral health security. So his schedule was 3 days with 12-hour shifts and then 4 days off every week. So he was thinking, yeah, I could go spend 3 days in New York every week. But ultimately, knowing that my job was going to end and I'd have the opportunity to move, I thought maybe we save up and move in together. So, not see each other in August, but move in together in September. So we agreed on that, and I started looking for places in New York or New Jersey, in that area where I was, and it wasn't really working out. He brought up the idea of moving back to LA, but that was never really my plan. And I figured, well, if one of us is gonna be starting over, well, we both might as well start over. And so we moved to Charlottesville, Virginia together. So at some point while I'm still in New York, he said something just that's so wonderful, that makes me swoon so much that I asked him, when are you just gonna wife me up? And he, I guess not jokingly, says, I was thinking about doing that when we get to Charlottesville. So we started looking about the laws about how many witnesses we needed. He had actually been a wedding planner for 5, 6 years before we met earlier in his life. And both of us agreed that we really didn't want a wedding. We didn't want to go into debt to start our marriage off. We had rocky relationships with some of our family members, and we didn't want to exclude some and invite others. And so we figured if we exclude everyone, then we exclude no one. So, one of the things about Virginia is that they have a no witness law. So we were able to get married without inviting anyone. My son was visiting family in New Orleans, and I, after my job ended, flew from New York back to California, and we did a road trip together from Los Angeles to New Orleans. Stopped at the Grand Canyon. It was very romantic, very not quite spontaneous because it was a planned road trip and we had somewhere to be by a certain time. But it was very leisurely. It was a really good time together. And he actually had a loss in his family during that time. And so it was really an opportunity for us to get close. I mean, being in a car with someone for days on end, making decisions about where to eat, making decisions about where to sleep, making decisions about what sightseeing to do, all of that was definitely a crash course in being together, and it was a really great opportunity. So when we got to Louisiana, we stopped at this lovely little crystal shop. We bought rings, and they were just simple rings in sterling silver with crystals in them. Both of our rings together cost less than $100. That was consistent with our plans for eloping. Again, we didn't want to go into debt. We didn't want to spend large amounts of money on symbols. We wanted to really build something with our marriage. We always planned, okay, once we actually accomplish something with our marriage, once we build our wealth, once we build our connection, we can celebrate what we accomplish as a couple instead of just doing all of these symbolic gestures up front to make other people know that we love each other, because what's understood need not be explained, and we knew what it was. So we got very affordable rings, and actually for our 5th year anniversary, we both upgraded our rings, but that's a story for a different day. And then we went to pick up my son from New Orleans, and we drove up to Charlottesville. So we get to Charlottesville, Virginia, the first week of September. And it was shortly after those tiki torch marches. And so there was a lot of tension, a lot of grief in Charlottesville, but we found a lovely place. It was a over garage apartment, fully furnished, and there was a huge lawn that deer would populate in the morning. It was absolutely gorgeous, a dream. That first week, we got my son enrolled in school, and then we started getting our workout routine together, because that works for us, and that's part of our life, a big part of both of our lives. More part of his life since he's the personal trainer. I like to say that I married my personal trainer. He definitely motivated me to do more working out than I have any intrinsic motivation to do. So we did our workout that morning, and this is the Friday after we get there. I take a shower, and while I'm in the shower, he asks me what the plan for the day is. I said, I don't know, I'm not sure. I get out the shower, and as I'm getting ready, I remember, oh, aren't we supposed to get married today? And he says, yeah, you still want to do that? Of course, I still wanted to do that. So we go down to the courthouse, chose to be outside. We could see the covered up Confederate statue from where we were. And we really felt like we were bringing love to this space, that we were somewhere that was grieving and hurting, and we could feel that. But we also felt like it was fresh soil for us to start to plant our seeds in. And we were so grateful just to be there and to be able to be together on that day. So that's it. That's the story of how we went from DMs to I do. Of course, there's some drama along the way, especially after we got married. But this channel is not about our marriage. The goal with this channel is to show you what we're working on and encourage you to put that effort towards your own. Hopefully you can learn from us so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that we did, and you can advance even faster. I hope you'll stick around for information about our art, our fitness. You can learn about the DIY projects we're doing around the home that we recently bought, as well as my sourdough starter series, and of course, how we are raising our children in order to ensure generational wealth. Until next time, I'm CeCe. This is Seedstines. I hope you enjoy the fruits of our labor, and I can't wait to see the bounty that you harvest.